All right, and 3, 2, 1, action.
With every project we make, we're always trying to challenge ourselves creatively, and our most recent film is certainly no exception. Sometimes it feels like every single idea we come up with has already been done in some way, especially on YouTube. Finding an original idea that feels completely fresh and allows us as filmmakers to explore new storytelling techniques is one of the hardest things to do, but always remains the goal. Anyway, here's a look into how we made one of my personal favorite shorts, Dr. Death. Originally, we had this idea of a cursed video on the internet that goes viral, and anybody that watches it dies almost immediately. But, of course, there's already a super popular movie that exists with pretty much the same concept.
Yeah, I guess the whole video kind of reminded me of The Ring, except I'm not getting a phone call.
And so we decided to swerve. One of the cool things about making these short horror films and sharing them on YouTube is that a lot of people enjoy making reaction videos. We've met so many YouTube reaction video creators over the last couple years. In fact, we owe a lot of our successes to them. What better tribute to them than to make a short horror film about a YouTube reaction creator reacting to short horror films? It's super meta, and of course it got even more meta when YouTube reaction creators began reacting to Victoria react to short horror films. But anyway, the idea didn't start off this way. It evolved from trying to think of a way to make something that wasn't a complete ripoff of The Ring.
This was one of my favorite characters to play. Fun fact, I used to live stream a ton on a now defunct app called Meerkat. It was a blast, and it worked very well with my silly, peppy personality, which felt like the right type of character to tap into for this short film. My favorite part is when I'm watching the film footage and we see Dr. Death filming my character while she sleeps. It's terrifying, it's invasive, and she needs to absorb all of this while still playing to the camera.
We shot the film over 3 nights. The first night, we had our good friend and DP, Keelan Carruthers, over to help us shoot the cursed video. All the grainy black and white clips were actually shot on Super 8mm film using his Bolex film camera. We bought 2 rolls of film, which only gave us about a total of 5 minutes of footage. It was pretty terrifying because then we had to wait a week just to get the film processed, digitized, and delivered to us on a thumb drive. Fortunately, all the images came out perfectly because, well, Keelan is a pro. And the few shots he wasn't there for, he explained to me how to properly expose, record, and unload the reels when we were done. One of the best things about shooting on film, besides the organic look and feel of the image, is that it forces you to prepare way more than you normally would with digital video cameras. Since film is so expensive and we only had 5 minutes to work with, we couldn't really afford to do more than 1 or 2 takes. And so we must have rehearsed every shot 20 times or more before we even hit record. Sometimes when you're shooting on digital video, it's easy to interrupt a take and start all over if you think you messed up. But with film, you just kind of have to keep on going, and sometimes you get something really special, something you couldn't possibly have planned. One thing we certainly didn't plan on was being allowed to film inside an actual dentist office. We told them what we were doing, and not only did they lend us one of their rooms for an hour, but they gave us all these tools to use as props and even some real teeth that were pulled from their patients. So thank you to all the staff at Dr. Whiff's office for helping us get these shots.
There are 2 special effects makeup moments in this film. The first is the spider-like creature in the opening. This was inspired by our very first monster from Bedhead. We've always loved that monster. It was one of the most intense special effects creations, and I originally created it almost 3 years ago. Back then, it took me something like 4 hours to create, but I am happy to report that I got that time down to an hour and a half, including building those claws. The head is a mixture of tape, cellophane, and liquid latex, all strategically wrapped around my own head and painted with cream-based Halloween makeup. The second creation is the stitched-up mouth. I purchased some scar wax from Spirit Halloween that's sole purpose, apparently, was to destroy my sanity. It was the worst. It just kept flopping off my cheek right after I applied it. Luckily, I had some Vaseline and liquid foundation, so I whipped up a bit of my own. I think that there's a third ingredient in homemade scar wax. Is it glycerin? Either way, the old Vaseline trick worked like a charm. Layer it with a bit of liquid latex, some regular old eyeshadow from my daily palette, and of course the little stitches that I secured with eyelash glue. Oh, one more fun fact. That's a real hook in my mouth. Do not try this at home, kids. I am a trained professional. But my whole family watches all of our films, and it was awesome getting my grandparents' reaction when they asked me how I did this. I got to add one more layer of terror to this story when I told them it was all done practically.
I probably cut this entire film in record time. The entire thing took me about 3 days to edit. Granted, there weren't really any visual effects shots. The only VFX were some easy screen replacements, although most of the shots you see of Victoria's computer screen are entirely practical. Some are even insert shots I filmed in our bedroom 2 hours away from where we shot the rest of the film in Santa Barbara. For the glitch transitions and broken glass effect that we have over the spider in the beginning of the film, I actually used a bunch of plugins I was given by AE Juice. It's actually the first time I've ever used any plugins for Premiere Pro, but they're insanely easy to use and speed up my editing by a ton. We have a link in the description below if you want to check them out. It was fun for me to edit such a mix of camera styles, from 8mm film to webcam recordings to Blackmagic RAW files shot on my Ursa Mini Pro G2. We knew we wanted to end the film with another YouTube creator watching this cursed tape, and naturally, Corey Kenshin was our first choice.
Let's get it.
We asked him if he was interested, and sure enough, he was. Although, as he mentioned in his most recent Spooky Scary Sunday video, he was a bit nervous. I think he thought we were asking him to act out an entire scene or play someone other than himself. After a quick Zoom call, we assured him that all he had to do was just be his beautiful, charming self, and of course, he nailed it. So, Corey, I don't know if you're watching this, but thank you for taking the time to do this and trusting us enough to make this strange little art project.
Let's get it.
All the music was done by Robot Disco Puma, who made a bunch of original pieces for this film. I also mixed in some music he made for our other short film, Joke's on You.
Wanna hear a joke?
To be honest, I was kind of nervous about this movie because I wasn't sure how well the self-aware nature of the film would read. Was it too meta? Is this some weird concept that only Victoria and I find funny? I love self-aware horror movies like Cabin in the Woods, Scream, or Army of Darkness, but there's no guarantee how any of them will play out. But hey, if we're not going to try something new, then why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? Anyway, thanks for watching.
All right, this is a wide shot, take one.
Husband clacked me.